Hello and welcome to the Online College of Coding video tutorial series. In this video, we're creating the Catch the Squid game in GameMaker. Before starting this video, it's recommended you've seen the Beginner Programming Concept series. Let's get started. The first thing we have to do is import some images as sprites so that we can use them in the game later. Click the red Create a Sprite button, and in the window that pops up, click the Load Sprite button. Navigate to the resources that you downloaded for this project and find the spr_squid file. Select it and press open. Now that we know what our sprite is going to be, let's give it a name. For the squid, we name it spr_squid. The spr is because it's a sprite. Then at the bottom of this sprite properties window, click the center button to center the sprite, then click OK. For the next sprite, click the Create a Sprite button once more, and also click Load Sprite again. This time, we're looking for the coral_bottom PNG file. Select and open that. Give this sprite the name spr_coral_bottom, and center it also by clicking the center button, and then click OK. For the third sprite, click the Add Sprite button once more. And we also want to load a sprite too, so click that button as well. Select the coral_left image and open it. Just like the previous two, we need to click the center button to center the sprite, then give this sprite the name spr_coral_left, and then we can click OK. For the last two sprites, we don't need to import any new images. Right-click on the coral_bottom sprite and choose Duplicate. Give it the name spr_coral_top. Click the Edit Sprite button. In the Sprite Editor window, click the Transform menu and find the Mirror Flip option. Check the box to flip vertically and press OK. Then close the Sprite Editor now as well. Click the Center button to make sure the sprite is centered, and then close the sprite by clicking OK. Next, right-click the coral left and duplicate it as well. Give it the name spr_coral_right. Click the Edit button, just like we did before, and use the Transform menu to open the Mirror Flip window, and this time we need to make sure the Mirror Horizontally box is checked. Now click OK and close the Sprite Editor. Click the Center button to make sure the sprite is centered, and then click OK to close the sprite. Right-click on the Objects folder in the resource tree and create a new object. Give it the name obj for object_squid. Set its sprite with the drop-down menu to be the squid sprite. Now click the Add Event button and choose a Create event. From the Move section of the Actions palette, drag a Move Fixed action, the one that kind of looks like an octopus, into the event. The action window will open up, and this is where we can give it some information. Click on all the arrows to select those directions. These are going to be all of the possible directions the squid can move in. For the speed variable, set it to 4 and then click OK to close the object. On the toolbar, click the Create a Room button, and on the left side of the Room Properties window, there are 6 tabs. Click the Objects tab. This is where we add objects to the room. In the drop-down list, select the squid object and click in the room to place a squid. If you place too many, you can use the right mouse button to delete them. Now, click the green play button on the toolbar to test out what we have so far. When the room opens up, you can see the squid on the grey background. The squid picks a random direction and starts moving. This is what we told it to do in the Create event. Now close the game window and also close the Room Properties window. To get rid of the grey background in the game, let's add our own background. On the toolbar, click the Create a Background button, and just like we did for the sprites, click Load Background. Find the Ocean PNG file, then select it and click Open. Name the background BGD as an abbreviation for background_ocean. Then click OK to close it. Open the room, and instead of going to the Objects tab, go to the Backgrounds tab. Use the drop-down list to select the ocean background, and it should pop right into the room. Because the background isn't exactly the same size as the room, It's being tiled across to fill up the empty space. If you scroll down, uncheck the tile boxes and select the stretch option. That'll stretch the background out to fill the whole room. Press OK to close the room properties window, and let's test it out once more, just to see the squid in the ocean. The background fills the room up and everything looks good. Now close the game window. To stop the squid from leaving the game area, we need to create a new object. So click the Create Object button to do that. Give this object the name obj_coral_bottom and use the Sprite dropdown to select the coral bottom sprite. Tick the solid checkbox and click OK to close the Object Properties window. Now let's create the next object for the top coral. Give the object the name obj_coral_top and set its sprite accordingly to the coral top sprite. Tick the solid checkbox and in the parent section of the object, set its parent to coral_bottom. Then click the OK button to close the object. Let's create another object for the left coral. Name it obj_coral_left and set its sprite. Then tick the solid checkbox and set its parent to be coral_bottom also. Close the object and create finally a fourth object for the right coral. Name it obj_coral_right and make it solid with the coral bottom also as its parent. By doing this parenting thing with our coral objects, we're saying that they're all similar and part of the same family, which is going to help us out in the near future. With our coral objects created, we can now put them into the room. Double-click the room to open it and go to the Objects tab. Before we do any object placing, let's zoom out of the room a little so we can see the whole background. Next, with the drop-down menu, choose each of the coral objects and click to place them into the room. You can click and drag to position them more accurately, or if you would like to be even more accurate, you can change the size of the snapping grid to a smaller number, so you can move them into finer positions. We need to place the coral all the way around the room like a border. Once that is done, test the game to see how they look. Of course the squid still swims right through the coral, because we didn't say it couldn't. Let's close the game window and fix that up. Double-click the squid object and open it up. Click the squid's Add Event button and choose a collision event. We want a collision with the bottom coral. From the Move tab of the actions, drag in a bounce action. Set the precision to be precise and leave the last field so that we are bouncing against solid objects only. Click OK to close the bounce action and again to close the squid object. Click the green play button now to test the game out once more. Now when the game is playing, you can see the squid bounces off the corals. And here is where we see the payoff for parenting all of the coral to the bottom coral. Because we said they're from the same family, a collision now with any coral object will count as a collision with the bottom coral object. Now that most of our game is set up, we can add some interactivity. Reopen the squid object and click the Add Event button once more. In the top right, choose a mouse button event. We want left pressed. From the Move tab of the actions, drag in a Move Fixed block, and just like we did for the first Move Fixed block, select all the outside arrows as directions. This time, however, we're setting the speed to 0.5 and ticking the relative button. This will add 0.5 to the speed instead of setting it to 0.5. So each time we click the squid, it picks a new direction and accelerates. To be sure of the exact number of times you click the squid, you might want to check your score during the game. To add a score to the game, we will need to make another object, a controller that can be in charge of the score. Click the Create a New Object button and give the object the name obj_controller. The controller object doesn't need a sprite. We want it to remain hidden because it isn't an interactive part of the game. Click the Add Event button and choose a Draw event. From the list of draw events, choose the top one, simply called Draw. Then from the Score tab of the actions, find the Draw Score action and drag it in. We don't need to change the position, just make sure you tick the relative box in the Action Properties window. This will draw the score wherever we place the controller object. Click OK to close the action window, and click OK again to close the controller. Open the squid now by double-clicking it, then select the left-pressed mouse event. From the Score tab of the Actions list, drag a Set Score action into the event and set its new score value to 10 in the Action Properties window. Tick the relative checkbox, then close the action and press OK to close the squid. Now before we test the game again, we need to double-click to open the room, then switch to the Objects tab and place the controller object in the room somewhere in the top left corner. Close the room and now you can press the green play button to test the game. Now you can really keep track of how many times you've clicked the squid because 10 points show up next to the score each time you do. The game's pretty much done now. We just have to add the finishing touch of the audio. Click the speaker looking button on the toolbar to create a new sound. We want to load a sound that came with the assets downloaded. For the first sound, we need to load the Music Loop MP3 file. Name the sound SND for sound _ music. Then we can click OK. To make the second sound, it's the same process. Create a new sound, click the load button, and this time we choose the Catch WAV file. This sound gets the name SND _ catch. For our third and last sound, we select the last file, bounce.wav. Name this sound SND _ bounce. After loading the sounds like we have, we now need to figure out when we want them to play. For the music, that's easy. We want it to start playing at the start of the game. So open up the squid object because it exists at the start of the game, and select the squid's create event. From the main one Actions tab, drag in the square action with a speaker on it, the play sound action. Choose the music loop from the drop-down list and set the looping to true because we want the music to continue looping. For the bounce sound, we want that to play every time the squid bounces off the coral. So select the squid's collision event with the coral and drag in a play sound action to there. Choose the bounce sound and this time leave looping at false. For the last sound, the catch sound, select the left pressed event because we want this to play every time the squid is clicked on or caught, and drag in a play sound action there, choose the catch sound and set looping to false as well. The very absolute last thing we need to do is make the squid face the direction it's traveling. So with the squid object still open, click the Add Event button and add a Step event. Now from the Control tab of the Actions, drag an Execute Code action into this event. So when the code editor's open, type in image _ angle equals direction. Don't forget to add a semicolon at the end. This line of code is pretty easy to read. We're setting the angle of the image to be the same direction the sprite is moving. Now press OK to close the code editor, OK to close the squid, and run Catch the Squid for the final test. If your music isn't playing or your sprite isn't rotating, you might need to go back and re-watch some video. Otherwise, congratulations, you've finished Catch the Squid. And now that you are finally done, you can put your skills to the test and try adding some extra characters to the game. Or maybe, if you feel like you want to try something new, move on to another project. Either way, well done. I'll see you in another video.